So, how does a terrible season get even worse? How about losing your best player possibly for the rest of the year? That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single day, free and available wherever you get your podcast. My name is Travis Rogers. Thanks for making us a part of what you do each and every day. Make sure you click that subscribe button in your podcast feed, a little check mark, a little bookmark, a plus, whatever it may be. Go ahead and do that. You get your Rams content every single day. Plus, check us out on YouTube. Our Locked On Rams YouTube page is a good way to take in the podcast as well. You can follow me on Twitter right there on your screen. If you're looking at us on YouTube right now, at Travis Rogers is a good way to do that. And of course, not only do I host this Locked On Rams podcast, I also host the Rams pregame and halftime show on their post-game show as well. All three of them. Easy for me to say during the show, a little bit less easy for me to say it right here. Pregame, halftime, and post-game shows here on their flagship station, 710 ESPN. So if you want to check that out, 2 hours before each and every kickoff. So this week against the Saints, of course, we'll get the pregame show started at about 8 a.m. My partner, Kirk Morrison, and I got you covered on that one. Okay, here's what's coming up on today's pod. More injuries, not just Cooper Kupp. We'll get into some other ones. We'll talk Matthew Stafford, Lark Jackson, Chandler Brewer. And yes, it's as bad as it sounds that it is. That's coming up in a little bit. I don't understand why there is a discussion about taking play calling duties away from Sean McVay. Yes, it has been bad this year, but can we look at a slightly larger sample size before we start asking crazy questions? And let's just start right here. Let's start talking about Cooper Kupp, but not before I remind you that today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay. Cooper Kupp got hurt in the game against Arizona. He got his leg rolled up again on, and what looked like a high ankle sprain was in fact a high ankle sprain, and he is scheduled to undergo surgery, a tightrope surgery, which sounds both exhilarating and terrifying at the same time. And he was placed on IR, which means he will be down for a minimum of 4 weeks, and quite possibly longer than that. And let's just be honest here. I think the longer than that is probably going to mean the rest of the season. I don't understand why it wouldn't mean the rest of the season. But let me give you a very quick roadmap on how he comes back before the end of the season and why I believe it to be as unlikely. Let's say that the 4 games that he has to miss by rule, right? You play somebody on IL, you're going to miss 4 weeks at least. The Rams play, here are their next 4 games. They've got New Orleans, they've got Kansas City, they have the Seattle Seahawks, and they have the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay. The Rams are 3-6 with Cooper Kupp. Okay. 3-6 with Cooper Kupp. They'd need to basically win 3 of their next 4 games to be 6-7 at that point, to at least begin to tell themselves that they're still in this, and let's try to get Cooper Kupp back so we can get into the playoffs. The odds of them winning 3 of those next 4 games that I just mentioned are what? Basically 0. You're not beating Kansas City. You're not beating the Seattle Seahawks as currently constructed. Maybe you get New Orleans and maybe you get the Raiders. Do you get them both? Probably not. So you're probably looking at losing 3 of those 4 games. And that would mean you would be 4-9. For who? For what? Allen Iverson, my favorite quote of all time. Not the pro. For who? For what? What am I doing here? No, so it's not going to happen. So he's going to be down for not just the 4 weeks, but if you force me to place a bet, I think he's done for the season. And if you're 4-9, what are we coming back for? Get him hurt again to push that rehab further into the offseason, into training camp, into the beginning of next season? Why? Why would you want to do such a thing? It doesn't make any sense to me. So with that being the jump-off point, what do you do with the rest of your season now that Cooper Kupp is down? Because here's what's so scary about this. Going into the Arizona game, so what were they? They were 3-5 at that point. Through the first 8 games of the season, Cooper Kupp had accounted for nearly 40% of their offense. 40%. That's obviously the highest in the league, and it's the highest in the league by a mile. It's 38% is the actual number. That's with him accounting for 38% of the offense, and they're 3-6. Now you don't have him. So obviously it's not going to get better. We'll talk about some other injuries, which are going to be key as well. So what do you do with the last 9 games of the season? I think what you do is, and I'm going to tell you a quick story here because I think this is basically what we're talking about. My friend Keyshawn Johnson told me this story once when he was playing for the New York Jets, and Bill Parcells had just been hired as the head coach. And Parcells comes in, and I forget whether it was after a practice or after a game, and the Jets were off to a weird start, and obviously, are not very good in their first year with Rich Kotite. Here comes Bill Parcells. And what he said was, he said, look, I know I'm going to be here, points at Keyshawn. He goes, I know he's going to be here, points at Curtis Martin. He says, I know that he's going to be here next year. The rest of you, I don't know. Okay, that's another 50 some odd guys that are just been told, look, your job, you need to show me. I'm going to be here. Those 2 guys are going to be here. The rest of you, I don't know. Now, you can make it as explicit as Bill Parcells did, or it can be more implied, or it can be more just understood. And I think that's what you do. And I get it. It's 8 games. It's half the season that you have left to play. But the fact of the matter is, let's see what you got. Van Jefferson, show me what you got. You're going to get a whole bunch of looks. You're going to get a whole bunch of targets. Show me what you've got. Ben Skoranek, same thing. Allen Robinson, my goodness, show me what you've got. And go all of these offensive linemen that have gotten a lot of time this year, and while you're trying to win some games and you're trying to stay in this thing, now all of a sudden we're in straight evaluation mode. Are you going to be on my team next year or not? Can I live without you? If I can, that's not good news for you. You got to put something on tape, not only for me, but for the other 31 teams in this league. Let's use look, they're not going to the playoffs, barring a 1 in 6%, I think is the number I saw. Okay, so basically you're talking about a 1 in 20 shot of making the playoffs, and that seems really generous to me. Let's figure out what you have. I know Aaron Donald's coming back. I know Jalen Ramsey's coming back. Stafford, Kupp, right? We know the handful. Bobby Wagner's coming back. He's played really, really well. But beyond that, show me something. Show me what you got. Get a little better week to week. I'm not saying you got to turn into an all-pro, but let's see you get a little better this week than you were last week, and a little better the week after that than you were the week before that. I think that's where this team is this year. I think it's about evaluations. I think that it's about this player looks like he's starting to figure some things out. Or let's see a bunch of Kyren Williams. Let's see a bunch of Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers and decide, okay, there's my guy. That's the guy that I'm going to go into next year with as my number 1 guy. Not a little 5 for him, 5. Let's evaluate these things and see who is a part of the future and who isn't. Well, that's what Cooper, the only silver lining to this is, the clarity of your season being over, I think, is right here in front of your face. So let's see what else we have. All right, coming up next, Sean McVay's not going to call plays anymore. Not going to happen. That's coming up on Locked On Rams. Now, word from our friends at Turo. Have you tried Turo yet? It's the world's largest car-sharing marketplace. It's all over the world. I've used it myself. I took my family on a vacation to Idaho not that long ago, and we had a whole bunch of people going, and we needed a big car, and we used Turo, and we found an unbelievable SUV, clean as a whistle. It was super easy to pick up. It was super easy to drop off. And you can see why. It's the world's largest car sharing marketplace. You can book any car you want, wherever you want it, from a community of local hosts. I didn't know anybody in Idaho. Boom, found a car ready to go. Book an SUV like I did for that family road trip. You can find an EV if you want to test drive one of those for a few days. It's just a great way to do it. Every trip is backed by liability insurance. Terms and conditions apply. And rental cars, you can find your drive at Turo.com, right? Go check it out. Go put the Turo app on your phone. Go to Turo.com. It is a great way to do it. Thanks for making Locked On Rams your first listen today. For your second listen today, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. So, question was asked of Sean McVay during some media availability about whether or not he's going to give up play calling duties, whether or not Raheem Morris may relinquish play calling duties. And I just like I understand why some of these questions need to be asked. I understand that the Rams offense is just abysmal this year. I understand that the play calling creativity is non-existent. I understand that they have they're either at or very near the bottom of yards per game, points per game. It's not working. It's not. I don't know if the solution is Sean McVay needs to stop calling plays. Because look, I get it. I'm like everybody else that's probably listening to this podcast. I'm a Rams fan as well. And it's been frustrating to watch, and it's been difficult to figure out because, why can't Allen Robinson get going? Why is the running game so bad? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of the reasons that we've talked about all season long. Do you really get the sense that Sean McVay forgot how to call plays in the NFL? Isn't that kind of what made him him? Isn't this why all of a sudden when he came here a few years ago, like, holy smoke, look at this. This guy is a totally different sort of head coach. I know that he's a great leader. I know that he's a great game planner. I know that he was obviously, I think maybe his greatest skill is in building culture, right? The Rams did not have culture like this before he got here, and now they do. I get it. It's a bad season, but the idea of all of a sudden saying, let's take play calling out of the mix, you really think that's the problem? You think that they've had 78 different offensive linemen? You think that Allen Robinson, they may have just missed on a free agent acquisition, that Cam Akers maybe isn't the guy that you thought he was, that maybe Van Jefferson is coming back for that, all of these other elements that when you can't block, you got to leave Tyler, all of it. You think that's more likely, or you think that Sean McVay just woke up one day and forgot how to call offense? I get it. Look, if this were a team that Matthew Stafford was healthy, the 5 offensive linemen were up front, that Allen Robinson looked like the guy that we've seen before, right on down the line, and they were still scoring 14 points a game, then you start to say, hey, look, maybe we need a fresh perspective, a different look. Here's what Sean McVay had to say about it. No, I don't think so. When asked if he would be not calling plays anymore, there's an element of we're all collaborating and trying to put together the best plans possible. I think in some instances, there's certainly, no, that's not going to be what I think is the best alignment for our team, but we're all in it together. And as we put these plans together, that's kind of what's reflected. And there's certainly responsibilities, but ultimately those things, they fall on me, and I'm more than happy to be able to bear that. But we all work collaboratively together on what we think is best in all 3 phrases. Let me take that out of Sean McVay speak, which can sometimes be a little bit wordy and a little bit circular, and put that into more plain spoken commentary. No, I'm not the problem. Nor is Raheem Morris, nor are the other guys that we have in here right now. I won the Super Bowl 9 months ago. I won the Super Bowl because I know how to call plays. I took a team that was moribund and flat and uninteresting and uninspired and lacking in culture, and have made them a marquee destination in the NFL, a Super Bowl champion, a 2-time Super Bowl participant in 5 years. You're asking me if I think I should stop calling plays, despite the fact that I did all of those things? No, I don't think that I should stop calling plays. That's what he means. That's what he's getting at. And he's right. Look, I get it. It's a terrible season. It's a season that has been disappointing for everybody involved in it, from probably Stan Kroenke, the owner, right on down to the most diehard fan. It's disappointing. But let's not lose track of the fact of what actually is very, very good about this organization and what is sometimes just circumstances beyond anybody's control. The injuries that they've had. I get it. The NFL is a league that injuries play a huge part, and sometimes you got to get a little more fortunate than others. They have been on the wrong side of that coin. From the opening day, they have been having guys drop like flies. Important guys, offensive linemen, really every last one of them, without the except with Rob Havenstein being kind of the last man standing, to Cooper Kupp, to Van Jefferson, to Matthew Stafford, to all of your. It's been a catastrophe when it comes to injuries. This is not, hey, Sean McVay forgot how to call a 3rd down play. I agree. There are some decisions that don't make a ton of sense. There are some calls you're like, what? We're doing what on 3rd and 5? I get it, but it's far more a result or the residue of not having the players that you need, rather than somebody losing their innovation, their creativity on how to do this. I'm going to ride with Sean McVay. I'm going to ride with Sean McVay for a very long time, because I was here. I saw it with Jeff Fisher, and I've seen it with Sean McVay. And Sean McVay's got the special sauce. Not this year. Look, I don't think if your staff was Sean McVay, Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, Andy Reid, Mike Tomlin, go right down the list of the best coaches in the league and saying, oh, yeah, okay, we can fix this. No, you can't. When you are on fourth string offensive lineman right on down the line, you can't fix it. It's unfixable. The car is totaled. You can't get it back on the road and win the race. It's not going to happen. It's over. And that's where they are right now. And this idea, well, let's take play from Sean McVay. Come on, man. The more I talk about it, the more ridiculous it seems. And while his answer was a little confusing and maybe quasi-diplomatic, that had to be, I guarantee you in his mind, like, are you really? That's what you think the problem is? Come on, man. No way. Speaking of all of those injuries, guess what? It's getting worse. Yes, actually, it's getting worse. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. Now, word from LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have the access to the best qualified candidates available, right? You can't hire the right guy if you don't even know who the right people are, right? If I'm just kind of firing blind, that's not going to work. You want to find the best quality candidates available, and that's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Hiring people is tough, man, and finding the right person is the hardest part about it. Once you see it, you know it, right? But finding them, very difficult. Here's how you do it. You add your job and the purple hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. BetOnline.net. Love BetOnline.net. It's the first place I go after every Sunday to see what's coming up next, to see what they think about my team and what sort of chances they have. And it should be your #1 source for sports betting information, stats, news, analysis. Of course, you can get the latest odds. For instance, the Rams are dogs against a 3-win team, right? They are 3-point dogs against the Saints. All of that, the trends, the information, professional and amateur leagues out there, from basketball to football to soccer to esports. They got it all at betonline.net. And if you love podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. Always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. And I don't know a lot about this stuff, but take the under if the Rams are involved. Okay, so it's not funny. I shouldn't be laughing. I'm laughing through the pain, right? The Cooper Kupp injury obviously is at the headline of the Rams injury news for this week. But a couple of other things have kind of flown under the radar that I think are equally just, gobsmacking, as far as you got to be kidding me. That look, I get it. Their guys are going to go down, but the way that guys have gone down, and in particular, the positions that have seemed to be most affected by this, are stunning. I'm going to do this one more time because we've been talking about it for a while now, but it really needs to go back and kind of run through this. Let me start by saying this. Alaric Jackson, who is your current starting left tackle, he's done for the season. Okay. He was not your starting left tackle at the beginning of the season. So your second left tackle is out for the season. He has blood clots and he's out. Chandler Brewer, who was somebody who got added to your team from the practice squad not that long ago, he too is going to miss some time. He has most recently been playing a little guard for this team. Let's go back to it. I'm going to go through this as quickly as. Oh, and by the way, Matthew Stafford is still in concussion protocol, so that's another component to all of this. Beginning of the season, the offensive line going from left to right was Joe Noteboom at left tackle. He's down for the season. That they replaced with Alaric Jackson, who is down for the season. Okay, now you're on your third string left tackle, Ty Nsekhe, who we'll see how long he's out there. Let's go to the next position. You had David Edwards as your starting left guard. He's on IR with concussion protocols. You have had Bobby Evans in that spot. You have had Chandler Brewer in that spot. All of them are now unavailable to you. All of them. Okay. So you're on your third string left tackle. I don't know who's, maybe Odeo Boucher will play the left guard spot. He's been there before, and he's going to probably have to do it. Let's go to center. You started the season with Brian Allen. Now, Brian Allen is back. Brian Allen is there, but he hasn't been there the whole time. We went from Brian Allen, who got hurt in the opener, to Coleman Shelton, who was your backup center. He's down, but now back to right guard. And then you had the cop, who I've already forgotten his name, right? Jeremiah Coloni. Jeremiah Coloni was your center, and now he's gone. They cut him, and now Brian Allen is back. That's what's happened. These are the first three positions. Let's go to the right guard. You start the season with Coleman Shelton at right guard. He has to move over to center because Brian Allen gets hurt. And the reason that Coleman Shelton had your starting right guard position is because Logan Bruss, who was your first overall draft pick, he got hurt in the preseason. He's done for the year. So your depth is sacrificed right there before you've played a single real game. And now Shelton gets hurt and he's gone. And here comes Tremaine Ankrum. Tremaine Ankrum is your next guy up at right guard. He gets hurt, breaks his leg, down for the season. All right, let's throw Alark Jackson in there. He knows a tackle. Well, now he's playing right guard. Well, now he's back over to left tackle, but now he's gone for the season. Rob Havenstein started the season at right tackle, and he's still there. God bless him. He's the only one. That is an unbelievable amount of turnover and injuries and bad luck and inconsistent play and everything else that you want to throw at it. You want to take away play calling from Sean McVay? Yeah, good luck. That is just an unbelievable series of events that has taken place up front with them, and it continues to get worse. They're going to play their 10th game of the season on Sunday morning against the New Orleans Saints, and they will run out their 10th different offensive linemen starting five. 10 for 10. Not 1 week has it been the same as the week before. No wonder that they're 3-6. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Rams. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Now check out the Locked On Sports Today pod. Catch up on the biggest stories of the day in sports, plus get instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Locked On Sports Today, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams' house.